now you're in, this is where the wind prospector bit comes through, is now you're in a layer, you know, which is what the gold miners wanted to find. They wanted to find a layer of gold. Well, that's what's up there. It is. And that wind turbine in western Iowa is in a lot better layer than we have over here.
Another 700 feet higher.
Yeah, gee. Which is exactly what this whole slide is talking about. Where did I do this? Okay, same thing we're talking about. Tall is vastly better. They're just doing it with grass. This is, see, I didn't need to draw. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Is that you get in all that turbulence, get your wallet out. Because wind turbines have bearings in them, and they have blades on them. And some of them have governors on them. And if you get into where that house, above that house, or above the trees, that layer right above the trees, that wind turbine's going to be, it calls it yawing. It sits here, your blade's here, and it'll sit there, and it'll be doing this all day long. Well, you got a set of bearings down there. So you've just increased all the wear on those bearings. Not only that, there's what's called thrust. You've got a 1 kilowatt wind turbine has a 12-foot diameter blade. Okay, that if we went back to the previous slide, those blade diameters, they like to fool around with them, but they fall into really pretty standard niches. Okay, a 10 kW machine's got about a 24 to 26-foot rotor on it. When you hit a 30-mile-an-hour wind, that turns into a solid object. So now you've got a 26-foot dish on top of a 100-foot tower with all that power coming up. And if that wind increases threefold, you have 27 times the power against that 27-foot dish. It has got to be built right. We can do it. I mean, there's guys that have been doing this for years, that they have very successful wind turbines. But there's also been, over the 30 years I've been doing this, I have seen literally 50 or 100 machines fail because they weren't designed correctly. So you have to be real careful. Again, it's variable. This is just in 1 month, how much the wind varies. A lot of people think they put up a wind turbine, they're going to get a steady flow. It doesn't work that way. It's up and down. That's why we want to interconnect to the grid, because we use the grid as a shock absorber and a battery, and it works very well for that. If you do a battery, that's not to say you can't do a battery system. Let's see if I can go backwards. Okay, if you do a battery system, this is why you want a battery. Is you take those highs and lows, you put them in a battery, and then you can come back out of the battery with a constant flow of energy. Here's your seasonal. Those are different years. If you look at, I can't believe I'm doing this. If you look at a graph, I hope. If you look at a graph of a year and say this is January and this is December, and you look at the production of a wind turbine, and let's say June is right here, okay, this is what's going to happen. That's what a power curve over a year from a wind turbine looks like. Okay? June, July, and August. They're called the doldrums. Okay? And the guys that sailed ship hated them. I mean, they stayed away from the 40-degree latitudes, which is what we're at, in the summertime because of this. Because they get stuck. And you don't want to get stuck out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Just for your information, a power curve for solar looks like that. And this is one of my big things, is the whole thing, if we want to move to the future, if we want to move with renewable energies, the 21st century, we can't do renewable energy the way we play football. We can't pick sides. We have to take these technologies, we have to learn how to melt them together, and there's other ones. I mean, you put geothermal in that, you put methane gas in that, and then you get, because you have to have demand, there's demand out here, what we all want, there's what we produce, and those two have to match. Or you're going to get an unreliable grid, and we're going to get the blackouts that you're talking about. But there's a marriage here. And we need to keep that in mind when we're doing things. Especially if you do a battery system, you can cut the size of both the wind turbine and the solar array in half by combining the two, because you don't have as much need for storage as you had before. Wind direction. I was talking to folks earlier today, and I get this a lot. If there's a river, and anybody's near a river, the wind follows the river valleys. But, so everybody that's in that river valley thinks they get a lot of wind. Okay? A wind turbine starts usually in a 7-mile-an-hour wind. And when you're out camping and you've got a 7-mile-an-hour wind, you're putting stuff down to hold stuff down. Okay? They start producing in a 10-mile-an-hour wind. That's when you're starting to put pop in the cup so the cup don't come off the table. Okay? They really start producing because of velocity cubed in the 15 to 20-mile-an-hour wind, and that's when you're tense on the other side of the campground, and you're going home. So you have to keep those in mind. When you feel like it's windy, you're getting a nice breeze and you're being cool, but it's not the powerful wind that a wind turbine needs to produce energy. In Iowa, this is called a windrows, and this is extremely important. And I don't think solar salespeople show this to people enough. That our prevailing winds are from the south and from the west. So if you saw a windrows for Iowa, you're going to see it mostly in here. Okay, you know when you feel the wind the most? Right here. The cold north winds. Everybody tells me, oh my God, I got lots of wind. Boy, every time it comes from the north. You know how often it comes from the north? Less than 4 or 5% of the time. 80% of it's over here. If you get a windrows of your area, you'll see. And then you go out to the site. I have this in my head, unfortunately. I should have other things. But anyway, so I go out to a site. I'm not looking to the north. I'm not looking to the east. I'm looking to the west and the south. And I'm looking at that window out there, and I want to know what's out there. If there's a bunch of trees, I know I got to have at least a 100-foot tower. You know, if I've got a nice valley out there, there's thermals that come off the valleys, that's a good thing. If there's a draw out there, and I see a draw coming out from the west or from the south, that's even better yet, because wind funnels. If you can take wind and you can compress it, you can increase its speed. So those are the kind of things I look for. I look for flagging. You don't see a whole lot of it in Iowa. That if you get a really good wind site, the conifers will only grow leaves on one side. And you look at the top, well, I usually see it, along 80 you can see it a fair amount, but you see it at about 60 feet. That's called a wind shear. And all of a sudden the top of the tree gets real ugly, and it leans, and it'll either lean to the west or the south. And that's showing you, before we had anemometers and all this wonderful electrical stuff, and I was riding around eating hot dogs in my car, that's what I was looking for. I was looking at the tops of the trees, trying to look for deformity in the trees, and then I knew where the wind shear was. So, thank God we don't have to do that anymore. That's what I wanted to show you. Let me turn my phone on so I know what time it is. Or can one of you tell me what time it is?
It's 1:34.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, lots of time. Okay. Usually, all right, what we have here is I'm doing a comparison between a 10 kilowatt solar array and 2 wind turbines. Okay? The purple on the bottom is a solar array in Muscatine, Iowa. It's located on top of All Steel Incorporated. And again, if you want to look at this stuff, it's out on my website. On the monitoring page, you just click on it and bring it up for you. Okay? The purple, I call it purple, is a 10 kilowatt wind turbine in Wapello, Iowa.
Wapello County?
Wapello County, right outside the city of Wapello. It's right on the ridge over the, is it the Illinois River? There's a river there. Cedar. I don't know, it's a river. Anyway, that's the production from that. And then thirdly, this is a wind turbine in western Iowa. Now, these 2 turbines are exactly the same. They're the same brand, they were bought about the same time, and they're both on 100-foot towers. One's on a freestanding tower, the other one's on a guide lattice tower, but that doesn't change anything. But you can see here the difference in, just because of the location of the production from that wind turbine. They're also about 6 hours apart. And you can see that time lag in the differences in these peaks, some of them anyway, this one. Okay, this was first 27 days of this month. And April is without a doubt the best wind month in the year. So one of the big things that are brought up by utilities, and rightly so, is the variability, and you can see the variability in production here, okay? Our major challenge in the renewable energy business is how do we turn all these peaks and valleys into a smooth power curve, okay? And again, solar is part of the answer. Now, if this was in the summer, this thing would reverse itself. And the solar would be peaking and the wind would be down in the valleys, okay? And this is the important thing, is as educated people, we have to come up with ideas of how to fill in these valleys. Well, battery technology is one, okay? Methane digesters is another. If when these things hit valleys, that people with methane digesters had the gas stored, they could turn on their methane digesters and they could fill in these valleys. Quite honestly, another good use for this is coal-fired plants. Because you can bring up the production on a coal-fired plant. If we let the renewable energy do 50% of the work, and at least as an interim solution, we've now cut our emissions in half. And as we learn how to do this better going into the future, that's a way to gradually move away from fossil fuels. We can't. There's no possible way to move away from fossil fuels in a year or two. It's just not going to work. We've tried too many times. So anyway, this is a really important graph. I'm going to try to get it up on the website. I don't have it up yet.
Is there a difference, like on a given day, whether it's daylight or nighttime, as far as the wind goes?
Yeah.
Do you get more wind at night?
Yeah, especially in the summer. Okay. And it just depends. You can have a really, really windy day during the day. And soon as, because it's that kinetic energy, that especially here, because the sun, the Great Plains is a big frying pan for the sun. And you get all that solar radiation, you get all that heat coming up, it compresses it, and then it moves. Okay? At night, you're turning the switch off. And you can watch these wind turbines just stop.
See, I was looking, the bottom is the solar, and I was trying to decide, when the sun went away, of course the solar
this
goes
gets,
away,
you start going to hourly data, and on this, it really gets interesting. I really think there's a thesis project in this for a college student. Really. And We now have the data. We never used to have the data. This used to be all theories for all these wing geeks sitting around in meetings